Yinspired is dedicated to all the grandmothers and aunties whose voices weren't heard or listened to. Created for the daughters. Aloha and welcome back to Yinspired, a podcast celebrating different perspectives in Chinese medicine and integrative medicine. Here, we have casual conversations with everyday practitioners, patients, and students exploring the messy truths of medicine, healing, the taboo, and life. I'm your host, Dr. Haunani Chong-Drake, a clinical doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine, a cultural practitioner and steward, mom, dog mama, and military spouse. Welcome to the pod, Dr. Cacky Mellor. I'm so excited to have you here. It's been a long time coming, hasn't it?
Yes. Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Haunani. I've been a huge fan of Yinspired since really before the first episode, because you had told me about your dream of doing this podcast several years ago. Of course I remember.
Teardrops fall. Aw. Well, feel free to call me just Haunani. You don't have to call me Dr. Haunani. Friend also works. Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
I'm so happy that the stars aligned and Yinspired was born and you get to be our guest today. I'm so excited to have you on and to allow your voice to shine through. We have had so many inspiring conversations, so many enlightening and healing conversations, some really tough conversations. And when I say tough, I mean like in the good self-growth version of um, difficult conversations. And so I have no idea where we'll go today. I know we've talked about some things, just your background, your specialty. But what I love about this podcast and these conversations is they sometimes take a life of their own.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you so much for being here and sharing space with me today. I'm going to make sure to put your full bio in the show notes, but I'm hoping that you can introduce yourself to our
Yeah.
listeners, your name, what you'd like people to call you, what you're doing these days, and what you're interested in.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, friend. Hi, everyone at Yinspired. I am Dr. Cacky Mellor. You're welcome to call me Cacky as well. And I am a master somatic movement therapist and educator, as well as a somatic experiencing practitioner. And I am finishing up my training in dynamic attachment repatterning. It's a whole alphabet soup that we don't necessarily have to get into, but I offer those titles as a way of kind of starting to contextualize what it is that I do, because it can be really hard to put into words. But I primarily work with individuals and groups to gently come home to their bodies and to support the innate intelligence and wisdom and medicine and healing that's within them to come forward through their nervous system, through their attachment system, to support greater access to vitality and to being alive. I do that both in my virtual private practice, where called Somatic Reclamation, where I see folks individually. And I also bring all of those somatic tools and attachment tools into my higher ed classrooms, where I specialize in teaching holistic psychology to undergrad and graduate students.
Beautiful. So I'm really excited for you to be here. Are you still in the Boston area?
I am, just north of Boston. Yes.
Yeah. And while we met, actually, gosh, how did we even meet? I feel like we've known each other for decades, but we really have only known each other for what, maybe 5 years, 6 years?
Yeah. No, I think it's probably been lifetimes, but
Okay. That's what it feels like to me too.
Yes. Like there's just like kismet, like so much connection and our passion and our purpose. But we met through the 300-hour yoga teacher training
That's right.
that I was taking, and you were one of the faculty who really radically transformed my personal practice with yoga and the way that I approach this incredible living wisdom system.
Oh, well, I'm glad that you remember because it's really I really was sitting here going, I cannot remember that moment in time. It's so interesting being in those groups, as you know, as a
Yeah.
facilitator or in the educator, instructor, whatever title you want to give it, because so often, I mean, I show up as a student. I am
Yeah.
fully aware that when I'm put in a group dynamic, even though, I might have that title,
Yeah.
I am there as a student and I am just learning and learning from everyone around me so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that makes sense why, especially in that group, so much wisdom just was constantly flowing through hearts, through words, through bodies.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense. And so
Yeah.
I am curious, was this always something you were interested in? Like to build
Mm.
context? Like as a child, were you already
Yeah.
were you a dancer? Were you in movement? Was that something
Mm.
important to you? What was your relationship with medicine, with healing, with movement, and kind of how did that bring you to where you are today?
Yeah. Gosh, there's so many answers to that question, so many different points that we can start at. But in this moment, the one that's standing out to me is I really found my way into the power of the medicine within us through my creative artistic practice. Long before I felt confident communicating with words, I was drawing. It was creating art, and that was such a safe place for me, and such a liberating place for me to feel the containment of the page and also the freedom of getting to express and both be seen by others, but also really to like see what was going on within me and to share that with the world. Art saved my life in so many ways, especially as a young person struggling with chronic health and mental health challenges. Art became a sanctuary and a way that I was able to reclaim health and healing and connect in with that power that lives within me, that lives within all of us, that um, I wasn't able to access through allopathic medicine. And so that evolved from visual art creation. I did get involved in dance when I was a young person as well. And then um, in undergrad, I chose to study art therapy and holistic psychology. Yeah.
What an incredible opportunity to start at such a young age when the brain
Yeah.
is still developing, when your sense of identity is still like so up in the air. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It was it was really important to me because I also greatly benefited from um, counseling and therapy when I was a teenager. And so I knew the power that it had to like heal people on a soul level, like not just like talk therapy, but like that depth of like helping someone connect with their purpose and having a reason to live. And so I really wanted to bring these two powerful medicines together of art and psychology. And so I had been looking for schools where I could double major in fine arts and psychology. And my mom was just like, well, why don't you just study art therapy? And I was like, what is that? Yes, let's do that.
That light bulb moment.
Yeah.
You're not the first person I've had a conversation about the creative, how being creative, gosh, how do I even put this? I guess this was an unexpected theme of my conversations. This has become a surprising reoccurring theme in the conversations about the power of art or music, of the creative space to be medicine, to be healing. I find that just like a breath of fresh air, like a total exhale of like, yes, my heart, my soul, my spirit knows that to be true.
Hmm.
So I'm glad this is coming up again. It
Yeah.
must be the medicine I need to hear and the message I need to hear because it keeps coming up again and again and again. I would love for us to kind of dig into that a little more because it's really, I would say in the United States, and maybe I'm wrong. I'm very open to being wrong. And maybe this is family culture. I didn't grow up in a place where the arts were seen as healing or medicine.
Mm.
And I would love for us to get into either through personal experience or your background and your training, like, what is this that's going on? Why is art? Why is that creative process? Why is it medicine? Why is it healing?
Mm. Well, I think the name of this podcast, Yinspired, is just setting the container for calling in this creative life force. Because to me, like yin is such a creative powerhouse. It's like this receptive creativity of like bringing in what's going on around us and then creating new life out of it. So it feels really appropriate to me that this is like a reoccurring theme that's coming up. What do you think?
Well, when you say it so obviously, I mean, okay. Okay, me having my own light bulb moments here. Yeah, I guess I never I'm still surprised. That's where I'm at with
Yeah.
this. I think it's so hard to put into words because it's something that is emerging
Mm,
for me in my personal life, but also maybe culturally this idea of what does it mean to be receptive and creative because they seem like, that seems like a juxtaposition. It almost seems like a duality. How can I both be receptive and create, which is this action, at the
right.
same time?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It is a both and for sure. Oh, I love that. I love that question because in so many ways, from my perspective, um, the the emergence of creativity as uh, a healing and transformative potential really goes back to some of the earliest humans. Like it's so primal, and that, not to fall down an anthropological rabbit hole, but the way that early humans communicated and participated in storytelling was through drawing and the arts long before written language was ever created. So the power of the creative arts to me is so woven into what makes us human. It's really exciting to be able to tap into that. And it feels so counterculture right now, especially to in a society where things are being I don't know, technologized is the word, but you know, everything's digital and like hyper logical and hyper individualistic and like all of these very like consumption and production focused things that to create for the sake of creating is incredibly radical and incredibly life affirming. And I really want to see more of that in the world.
The number of times I've just had waves of truth bumps from my eyebrows all the way down to my toenails. Like I'm touching my toes right now because it's very rare that I feel truth bumps in my toenails, and they're there when you say it's what makes us human. It is. And we've forgotten, haven't we? For these
Yeah.
other striving things in our lives, whether it's a role or a title or whatever family or culture or religion wants us to be. But if we forget that creative part of ourselves, if we don't sit around the fire or build a fire
Hmm.
or learn how to work with fire, if we
Hmm.
forget to drum or play music, if we stop the drawing or the painting, if we're not hands in the soil creating with earth and growing
Hmm.
food,
Hmm.
whatever that version of art or creation is, we lose our roots of who we are.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also really important as a part of that to emphasize that this type of creativity it's not about production. It's not about what the end product is. It's about the play and the process of tending to the life force energy that wants to channel and move through us.
Yeah, like it wants to move through us.
Yeah, yeah. It reminds me of one of my very favorite poets, Andrea Gibson, who recently passed. They're incredible. Uh, I was really touched when they were talking about facing their own mortality. For folks who aren't familiar with Andrea Gibson, they had a very prolonged cancer diagnosis, a terminal cancer diagnosis that actually turned them towards life and towards like genuinely living in this way that they had never experienced before. And in an interview, someone asked them, like, aren't you worried about the poems that are going to be left inside of you, left unwritten after you die? And they said, no, I'm not. Because that energy, those poems will find someone else to bring them into the world. The poems are not mine. Like, I'm going to get teary. It reminds me of what you and Anita always talk about, like, it's not mine. Like, same thing with the creative process. Like, this is coming through us because it needs to come through us.
Yeah, it does. And the minute we stop it or we tell ourselves we don't have time for it, we disconnect from that part of ourselves. That becomes one of the ways we disconnect, period. We
Mhm.
stop that flow of life force energy coming through us.
Yeah, or we judge it like, "Oh, like, there's no reason for me to create art because, like, I'm not gonna be able to sell it and make money off of it, or because it's not gonna be as good as someone else, or, like, I'm not the artistic sibling." There's so many implicit and explicit messages that we get growing up that inform how we perceive the creative process. And I really want to invite folks to excavate those implicit messages and question them. Like, are they real? Like, is it true that you can't make art because you're not going to make money off of it? Like, I certainly understand that we live in a hyper monetized world and that money is a reality and we need to have money to survive in this society. And who says you can't take chalk and draw on the sidewalk? Like, do doodles, or like even like get an adult coloring book, like whatever it is that's going to help connect you into that flow and that creativity. Like, arrange flowers, like you said, like get your hands in the dirt, like put on a silly song and dance while you're cooking. Cooking is a creative artistic process. Like, whatever it is that you feel called to explore that feels life affirming, who cares what the final product is? Like, that's not what it's about. It's about that life, that like real uh, empowering, sustaining vitality that can come from engaging in this. Um, and yeah, who cares what the product is? Like, that's a very art therapy approach, like process over product. Um, but I really, uh, I, I want to offer that to more people to be curious about.
I just really appreciate you emphasizing that you're doing it just to do it because that's what
Yeah,
wants to come through you, not because
yeah,
there's an end product, not because it has to be a certain way, not because you end up selling it,
yeah,
right? That just being in the process of allowing that to flow through you is, from what I hear you saying, that is the medicine
yes.
because you're allowing it to flow through you and it wants to flow through you.
Yes. Yes. And how is that experience for you? Like, that can be such an incredible alchemical process. There can be so much that becomes transformed and transmuted in simply embracing creativity. and letting yourself play.
Yeah. I can imagine someone who hasn't done this in a while. I'm just going to choose dancing right now. It could be
Mhm,
art, it could be cooking, it could be whatever that thing you tell yourself, I don't have time for anymore, or
mhm,
whatever the other excuse is. I'm going to
mhm.
take dancing for a moment. And they listen to this and they go, you know what? Okay, I'm inspired. I'm inspired. I'm inspired by this. I am going to dance again. You're not asking to pick up where you left off. From what I hear you saying is just start again. What does
Just
your
play.
your body's in a new place, your mind's in a new place, your emotions are in a new place. You are the person you've never been before ever on this planet except today. How does it want to move through you today? And as you start in this scenario of dancing, there's an alchemical process, and maybe that process is really uncomfortable at first because you're like, I'm so silly. And you're going to see all this mind stuff, all this internal chatter come to the surface.
Mhm.
So, what do we do with that when it comes to the surface? Dr.
Mm.
Kaki, help me.
Yeah.
Because I'm a dancer. I know that
Mhm,
dance is my form. Like the minute I start moving my body, whether it's on a surfboard or on the land or
mhm,
sitting on my sit bones grooving,
mhm.
something happens to me. So I feel very comfortable in my creative process.
Yeah.
But I know not everyone is. I think what you said is maybe one of the biggest roadblocks we're currently facing as humans, as
Mhm,
humanity. So
mhm.
what happens? What do we do with that chatter when it comes up? Oh, I'm so silly. Oh, I shouldn't be doing this. Oh, what a waste of time. What do we do with all that?
Yeah, it's such a great question. I have a couple of kind of cheeky, playful responses. Well, one, as part of exploring these implicit and explicit messages that we've been given, I'd ask someone who's experiencing that chatter, whose voice is that chatter,
Ooh, yeah.
right? Like, is that coming from you or is that coming from, you know, your seventh grade gym teacher or like whoever it is? Like, where is that voice coming from? Because then that can also help to change our relationship with those messages when we recognize that maybe that's not coming from me and like, do I actually believe that? Like, is that something, yeah, like that message really got in there deep when I was a young person or in this particular situation as adult or whatever it was. Creativity can be a very vulnerable process, and being witnessed and sharing that with others can open us up to critique and judgment and criticism. I don't agree with that. I don't want that for people, but that is often what people experience. And so when our life force is met with that either not being received or being received conditionally, it can be incredibly painful, and that can plant these seeds of self doubt and self limitation. And while that can have very real tangible effects, if we can start to tease apart, like, where did that come from? It can lessen the power that those thoughts have over us, and we can start to come into relationship with them. So, like, yeah, in seventh grade, when the gym teacher said that to you, you weren't in a position to talk back. And you did have to, like, adapt in order to survive that particular situation. And now you are an adult. And like, what if adult you and I, this is a very like dynamic attachment way of working with this, but what if adult you and I went back to that gym class with that seventh grader and told your gym teacher off? Like, that was not appropriate. Like, let this child dance, let this child move, let this child be in their process. And you don't get to judge them. And like, what would that do to that inner encapsulated seventh grader? Like, feeling like, just being curious about whatever version of that aligns for you, like what that might mean to have had a competent, protective, caring adult that could have stepped in and interrupted that criticism or that judgment. And playing with that can start to loosen the grip of that narrative. So that's kind of one cheeky way that that we might work with that.
That's a really powerful thing to contemplate, not just, in terms of our creative energy, but anytime, whatever the internal chatter is, to just kind of stop and go, wait a minute, whose voice is that?
Yes.
Because, I mean, we haven't said this, but I know you get this, is that creative energy that's coming from source, that part of us that is in alignment with nature and whatever's this great intelligence keeping us spinning on this planet without flying off, would never talk to us that way.
So true.
So
So
what
true.
is that voice coming in? Tell me if I'm wrong or, course correct here. When we ask that question, it may not be an individual person or a memory that we have an actual like date and time stamp or a face with. It could be something bigger, like maybe culturally or religious, or can it be bigger?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's part of what you can get curious about, because oftentimes there's layers to these messages, like they've been
Yeah.
reinforced. And so it might take some time to start to tease that apart, where like maybe it was like a particular adult saying something that planted that original seed, or maybe it was like the cultural messaging that then some experience reaffirmed that cultural messaging. I will say, if we can start to peel those layers back, it can open up a lot of curiosity and also possibility. Like, who am I really? Like, what
Mm.
is my unique essence? I remember many conversations with you. How is my prana, my life force, wanting to be expressed in this lifetime? And that has nothing to do with societal expectations or what different adults said to us growing up, or sometimes even what people in our life now expect of us. Like, it's really important to start to and continue to tend to and cultivate that relationship with that inner knowing, that life force within us that is such a powerful compass and guiding force for where we want to go. And if same thing with like tamping down the creative energy, like if we're denying our life force, trying to make other people comfortable, that's a recipe for dis-ease.
Tell us more. Why?
Because if you are attempting to be something that you are not in order to appease other people or keep the peace or get that job or get that relationship or whatever it is, it's one, taking you out of your integrity, out of alignment with yourself. And that's a betrayal to yourself. I get we have to adapt, and like there's certain like this isn't a pathologizing. This is an invitation to get curious about where are we out of alignment with who we really are. And then in my experience, in my being, when I do those things, my body will really get loud in trying to call me back to integrity.
Your body gets loud, like pain or discomfort,
Yes,
physical.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
What
yeah,
and maybe even mental, emotional discomfort.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, and also, uh, on a spiritual level too, of
Mm.
questioning, like, do I belong? And if I'm stepping outside of my integrity in order to try and gain belonging, I'm not actually belonging.
You've constructed belonging, but you've really taken yourself out of the equation because you're
Yeah,
not in alignment.
right.
What a facade we've created for ourselves.
Yeah, it's a catch-22 where so often, like, our relationships are based on meeting these expectations or these transactions, and, um, ultimately, like, one of the things that humans desire the most is that sense of belonging.
Mm,
We want to belong to ourselves. We want to belong to each other. We want to belong to something greater than ourselves. And so we get really creative in trying to figure out how to get that need met. Like it's such a deep, 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 deep need
yeah.
in humans. And it's evolutionary. Like it evolved in order to keep turning us back into relationship with each other to both have the kind of biological best bet of survival and also, I believe, to give our lives meaning. Like that connection and that community and that love
Yeah.
is the reason. Like that's the why behind everything. So it's a huge motivator and it makes people do everything that they can to try and obtain that and to meet that need. And if we're doing it in a way that's inauthentic, we're actually getting further away from getting that need met. So it's kind of this big tangled mess if we if we start to step out of our integrity and alignment, where we're just trying constantly to fill that hole that is pulling us further off balance.
When you act the way people from the outside think is okay, but you know in your heart it's not, it's like another paper cut to the heart. Like
Ah,
internally,
yes.
it's hurting you, even though everyone else is giving you approval or
Yeah.
it's getting you that next thing that on the outside is accepted. Internally, it's like a little paper cut. And after you have so many tiny little paper cuts on your own heart, on your own soul, on your own spirit, of course you're going to feel broken or lost or hurt.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, yeah. It adds up, right? Like it compounds. Every one of those paper cuts, like, imagine 1,000 of those paper cuts and how painful that is and how difficult it is, to continue to move through the world and to care for ourselves when we're in this level of pain.
It almost brings me to tears right now because I'm thinking of as we walk around the world, I'm just grocery shopping or wherever I'm at. So many of us are just walking around in that state of a thousand paper cuts in our heart, or of our soul. No wonder there's so much pain and suffering. No wonder
Right.
we can't meet the healthcare needs of everyone.
Yeah, yeah, and those woundings, those paper cuts, like, bump up against each other and cause friction.
I ultimately, and this is that altruistic optimist part of me, is I truly feel like we're all doing our best given the
Yeah.
resources we have, given the role modeling in our lives.
Yeah, yeah, it helps to put it in perspective,
Yep.
and in my experience, like, it really helps me to feel companioned in this journey, right? That we're not alone in
Mm.
experiencing these very human challenges and experiences of suffering. To me, it helps me to feel not alone because to know that so many of us are going through that, not just at this point in history, like you were saying, like that this is part of the human condition that people have experienced and navigated successfully since time immemorial. That we have within us thousands of years of wisdom of how to survive and thrive with these challenges.
Yeah, which is so hopeful. Then you're not stuck in the mud.
Right. Right. And you're not alone. Like
Yeah.
it can feel so isolating. Um, feel like you're the only one that doesn't belong.
And then it really gives pattern and shape to all the messaging of this is how you should try to fit in. But
Exactly.
fitting in and belonging are not the same.
Correct. Correct.
Advertising wants you to fit in, wants you to look a certain way, wants you
Mhm.
to feel not enough so that you buy their product, but we're not talking about that,
Exactly.
we're talking about belonging. Belonging is like that deep healing part.
Mhm.
Fitting in would be a Band-Aid to make it feel like
Yeah.
I'm better.
Yeah.
And we need Band-Aids, I don't wanna downplay it. We need Band-Aids, right?
Mhm.
But the deep healing comes in things that are, like you said, how or when did I betray myself? If I could
Mm.
ask myself that in a really curious way, non-judgmental way, in a way that I'm loving myself, like, I
Yeah.
really curious to find out when and how did I betray myself? And not, like, to reprimand myself and get hard on myself, but to say, "That's okay, at least I'm asking a truthful question, I'm ready to hear my own truth. I'm ready to hold that tenderly in my heart and do what I need to do to say sorry. I'm sorry, self. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
spirit, that I left you. I'm sorry that I didn't believe you. I'm sorry, emotion, that I
Yeah.
discredited you." Or,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a really, really powerful medicine.
Yeah. And I love that line of inquiry. And can I add something to that?
Of course.
Especially when we're tending to these parts of us that maybe feel like they didn't belong or don't belong. It can be incredibly resourcing to even just like energetically call in our people, like our support, our community. So, like, before sitting down to write that question, like, who holds you with grace? Who loves on you? Who looks at you and just like, I'm getting emotional, just like s- sees the most true essence of who you are and loves that part. And this could be people in your life now, it could be people that were in your life previously, but it can also be the imaginal, right? Like for me, Mr. Rogers is one of these people for me. Like I call in Mr. Rogers, like that level of profound care and affirming that like, you are special, your emotions are valid. Like, and I have clients that like they call in Harry Potter, like whoever it is for you, invite a couple of those people just energetically to be in circle with you and support you in that. 'Cause sometimes it can be really hard for us to have compassion for ourselves, particularly with such can be raw experiences. So before you even get there, call in your people, like call in those people that have so much capacity to meet you with compassion. So even if you have a hard time doing it, their presence is with you.
And it doesn't even have to be someone you've actually met,
Correct.
right? Like, it could be an archangel maybe you've connected with, or, like you said, a character in the book, or ancestors,
Mhm.
or groups of people who know would just care for you.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
so
or
powerful.
animals. Yeah.
animals, so true. Yes, yes, yes. Or the elements, like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, that is
Yeah.
so powerful.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a practice called Ally Oasis that comes from Dr. Diane Heller, who created the dynamic attachment repatterning program. And really, just what we're doing when we're inviting those people in is cultivating and touching into our own experience of secure attachment, of healthy, loving connection.
Yeah. This is a term I'm hearing more and more. Like, it's not just in the psychology field, but this term of attachment. Do you mind
Hmm.
sharing what is attachment and why it's
Yeah.
important? Why we should
Yeah.
care as people, as clinicians, as patients?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been on my own journey, healing my own attachment experiences and studying this work for several years now. And the more that I study it, the more that I just see it as the foundation of so many situations. Because ultimately, attachment is about the patterns that show up in the way that we react in relationships. The origins of those patterns often trace back to early life experiences with caregivers. But one of the really hopeful and exciting things that we're learning more and more about attachment is that it's not faded. Like once you have a particular attachment adaptation in childhood, it doesn't mean that that's how you're always going to be. Like our attachment system is always taking in information about current experiences, and that is mapping onto that blueprint of our original experiences. So it's changing, it's very plastic.
Yeah.
So the more that we can tend to those healthy, loving, secure attachment experiences, the more we have access to that within ourselves and in our relationships. Um, and with insecure attachment, there's several different um, ways, the adaptations that people have brilliantly come up with in order to survive. And it's so often, depending on where you're reading about attachment theory, insecure attachment is pathologized. And I'm just not about that. I'm really not. Like, uh, attachment adaptations are ways that we have shifted in order to survive and stay in relationship. And we all have all of these different attachment adaptations, and they come out in different ways at different times in different relationships. So it's not like saying that someone has disorganized attachment is kind of a misnomer, because we all have parts of us that have that tendency. And it can be uh, it can be transformed. Like we can all cultivate more access to the secure attachment. Um, but I want to kind of circle back to how insecure attachment adaptations can come to be. Secure attachment comes from when we have our emotional needs and belonging and feelings of acceptance and care met through loving, unconditional, positive regard, connection, genuine care. That's secure attachment. When, for whatever reason, those needs aren't met, particularly as a young child, we will adapt in order to maintain the relationship with our caregiver because we're dependent on them for survival. So we can't, it's not like in adult relationships where if someone does something that you don't like or it doesn't meet your need, that you can say peace out and walk away. Like a child needs their adult in order to survive. And so even when maybe their needs aren't being met or they're feeling hurt or suffering, their attachment system is wired to maintain connection. And that can look like becoming really anxious or ambivalently attached, where it's almost like their call response, like a baby crying for connection, is stuck on. So they're constantly reaching out, like, I need more, I need more, I need more. Whereas an avoidant attachment adaptation is the opposite. Their call response has been turned off, and they are going to be more likely to be like, I didn't actually need you anyways. Like, I can only count on myself. And so they're going to have a much harder time and be much less likely to reach out. And then disorganized adaptation style is, it can be a combination of the anxious, ambivalent, and the avoidant. But the big piece about disorganized is that there's an element of developmental trauma that was a part of this. It's bringing in, again, all of the attachment system that's like the one of the most foundational parts of our personality and how we show up in the world and how we experience the world. But then it's also bringing in the nervous system because of the experiences of trauma. So with a disorganized attachment, adaptation, secure attachment actually feels unsafe. It feels threatening because this element of unresolved trauma is kind of coloring how they see all interactions as a potential threat.
Thank you for clarifying that. So it sounds like attachment adaptations are what in Chinese medicine we would call patterns. And whether we call it that from Chinese medicine or just this term pattern, it's something you've done again and again and again where you've trained your physical, mental, emotional self to respond in certain ways to certain stimuli.
Yeah.
And with a pattern, what you're saying, or with an adaptation, is it's not fixed. It feels fixed. It probably is pretty ingrained into our reflexes of how we respond to the world, but it is
Yeah.
not fixed. It's actually, we can move in and out of these adaptations. We can bring different shape to them, different patterns to them. And that really resonates with me as a, from the Chinese medicine side, is we see things. We have diagnoses the same way allopathic medicine, and I'm sure in clinical counseling you have these quote unquote diagnoses. But that's not the whole story. That's not the whole picture. We want to know a little more. What's at the root of why that is there? What's going on for this diagnosis? And so if you have one diagnosis, but you have 10 people with the same diagnoses, it sounds like you might have several different adaptation
Yeah.
styles,
Oh, yeah.
even though they have the same diagnoses. And so
Hmm.
same in Chinese medicine, you have 10 people coming in with anxiety. You have all different reasons, all different patterns why that particular person has that diagnosis of
Right.
anxiety.
Right.
In the mind body realm of working with other people, it really mirrors in so many ways what in Chinese medicine we're also looking at too. Is it's the wholeness of the person, it's the patterns of the person, understanding that those patterns are just a reflection of things done over and over. And how is that left an imprint on the person's biology or their physical
Yeah.
body, their nervous system, their
Yeah.
psychology, their thoughts, their emotions, and
Their
also the
heart.
spiritual, the heart.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
Yeah.
That's real. I've never really thought about it until just now when you described that. I was like, all the light bulbs were going
Yeah.
off. We're like
There's
speaking the
so much.
same language in
Yes.
a different way. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And when we had a conversation a few weeks ago about the gunas, this is a lot of what I was thinking about,
Yes. Qualities.
the
Yeah.
quality.
For the listeners, gunas is a Sanskrit term for qualities. And qualities are how we can, in many ways, move beyond labels or diagnoses into what is present in that moment. Is it
Hmm.
hot? Is it cold? Is it heavy? Is it light? These qualities. Um, or I also call it the language of yin and yang, right? It's like the active, the stillness, the dark, the light, the hot, the cold, right? People can refer to episode on yin and yang. I don't even remember what episode that was. I'll put that in the show notes. So we're really just working with qualities and how these qualities are showing up in people's lives.
Yes. And the other thing that I'm hearing, both from the perspective that you're holding in Chinese medicine and this somatic attachment perspective, is really honoring that the the reason that this pattern exists is rooted in intelligence. Like, it came to be out of our innate intelligence and the way that our system needed to respond to a particular situation. So there's wisdom in it. It does not need to, nor should it be, pathologized. And therefore, when we are recognizing and intentionally coming into relationship and making these things explicit, it's so important to hold them sacred and hold them tender and to resist those impulses to judge. Like, I should have known better. I should have behaved differently. I should have. Like, it's really opportunity to recognize the brilliance of our human spirit to survive and to support that innate intelligence that's trying to express so that it can have greater access to vitality, to secure attachment, to creativity.
So when we have more secure attachment, what I hear you saying is our life force energy is more free flowing, or is it more alive? What would you say about that, or how would you describe that?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak from my own experience of when I feel like I am in secure attachment, I feel so much more alive. I feel so much more like tuned in, connected, like the world just kind of feels more vivid. Like I feel a part of it. Like I feel connected. I'm a student of Thich Nhat Hanh of Thai, and he talks about interbeing and like really recognizing how deeply and profoundly connected everything is. We all are. And when I started really intentionally cultivating greater access to secure attachment within me, that's what it feels like.
It's really interesting because the next question I was going to ask you is, what would your definition of healing be?
Mm, Oh, wow.
I think you just answered it though. I mean,
Yeah. I feel like healing it's so subjective and it's so individualized. Yeah, like anything life affirming, like really taking steps to be um more alive while we have this precious gift to be alive. Like that's healing to me. Like what's going to bring you more into life?
yeah, when you were talking about your own personal experience of moving towards that secure attachment and you kept using that word connection,
Yeah.
all I could hear, I mean, I was hearing you say connection, but I was also hearing healing. Like
Yeah,
you're moving towards healing. Not that healing's a bullseye, right? It's a
right.
very fluid, dynamic process of in and out, and but there is a path towards what that means for each of us. And I think at every level, and we talk about them separately, but we know they're all so deeply connected, is this path of healing is about connecting with the physical is or reconnecting with the physical, connecting with the psychological, the intellectual, connecting with our emotions, connecting with the spiritual, connecting with that innate creative life force within us. It really is healing connects us back to it.
Mhm.
Whereas so much of the lack of chi or prana moving around us that leads to disease or discomfort or some pathology down the road is a disconnection from.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, sorry, words get us categorically separated. So it's hard to talk about
Mhm.
this stuff.
Mhm.
You know that.
Mhm.
Isn't that your research? A lot of your
Yeah.
PhD research and language and
And the biopsychosocial effect of words, how words affect us physically, emotionally, psychologically, and interpersonally. So yes, everything you're saying.
my goodness. I mean, we're gonna just talk for hours, but I also know that you have you have some place to be. Should we table this for now and have you come back?
I would love that, honey.
Okay.
Yes, please.
All right. So we've just opened up. I'm going to plant the seed for where we're going to start this next episode, which is I just asked why it's important. Like, what is attachment and why is it important? I would love you to come back and have this conversation about what is embodiment and why it's important.
Hey, yeah,
Okay.
let's
So
go.
I know we don't even have time to open up that box. And maybe we've already really talked about it in this episode, but that's really coming alive right now. Yeah, because I can't believe I blinked and here we are. It's time to hang up. And I'm like, we're just getting started.
This is just a pause.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is just a pause. I mean, let's let people digest what we've discussed. Yeah, so many tidbits. One of the things that really just is standing out right now is when you said we were talking about the creative energy and expressing through art, and you said it's the
Mhm.
process over the product. And that is just still resonating so loud and clear of what a liberating and empowering way to come back to connect with that creative force of just it's just part of the journey. It's just part of the process. It's just me expressing my life force energy the way it wants to be expressed.
Yes.
How
Yeah.
liberating.
Yeah, yeah. And that it's not even like it's not even really about us, right? Like we're the channel, we're the vessel. Yes.
Yes. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so people are definitely going to be interested in learning more about you and connecting with you. Where can they go to connect, learn more about your work?
You're welcome to visit my website, somaticreclamation.com. And there is information there about more opportunities for working with me individually and in groups. And there's also more of my scholarship up there if you want to read some of my writing. And you can also connect with me on Instagram at Somatic Reclamation.
Thank you so much. I'm going to encourage everyone to reach out, go explore. And so, yes, definitely we'll have you back on. For now, are you ready to jump into a little rapid fire? I really want to respect your time. And so,
Yes,
all
I'm
right.
excited.
Of course, you always have the right to say no or pass to any of
Thank you.
this. What's the best advice you ever received?
In this moment, what's coming to mind is to strive to fail as frequently as possible.
See, we're going to have you come back so that we can unpack these answers. Okay. Putting a pin on that one. What is the worst advice you've ever received?
The worst advice is to follow the example of what already exists.
Are you a morning bird or a night owl?
I'm definitely more of a night owl for sure, but, like, as I'm getting older, I feel like I'm like a afternoon, evening kitty.
What's your favorite food?
Love Indian food. And it's hard to, like I know that's not, like, a specific food, like, it's a whole genre, but it's really hard for me to, like, narrow down a particular dish, but in this moment, I'll say malai kofta.
What's your favorite tea or beverage?
Mm, mm. Lately, I have been enjoying stinging nettle tea.
Ooh, again, putting a pin on that one. What's a book that changed your life or your mindset?
My gosh, there's so many. This I knew this question was coming, so it's part of why I was like, I don't wanna overthink because I wanna just share what's gonna be honest and alive in the moment. I'm gonna share 2. One is Falling Back in Love with Being Human by Kei Ching Tom. It's a collection of love letters that she wrote to people and herself that hurt her. So she's writing love letters to yeah, it's a really profound, incredible book. It's like my favorite gift to give people these days. It's really, really beautiful. She's my gosh, such an incredible scholar and activist and artist. So yes, Falling Back in Love with Being Human, number 1. And number 2 is A Year to Live by Stephen Levine, which is a year-long meditation on dying. If you knew that you were gonna die a year from today, how would you live your life?
Truth bumps. Truth bumps. Yeah. I'll make sure to add those in the show notes. I'll make sure we have the right books so people can check those out. Okay. Finish the sentence. Be the type of person who.
Loves.
What would you do if you weren't doing the current work you're doing today?
My gosh. Wow. I really being going back to the artistic metaphor, I use a lot of mediums. So, like, I teach, I have private practice, I write, like, I already do a lot of things that I love doing. But if I was gonna do something completely different, I feel like I would be a George R. Martin scholar. Like,
What is
a Song
that?
Song of Ice and Fire, Lord of the Ring or not Lord of the Ring, Game of Thrones.
I'm not a Game of Thrones person.
Yeah, not the TV show, the book.
The book.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. And then finally, what is your one wish for healthcare?
I really wish that we could center the person again, like the humanness of the person.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your time, your energy, your light, your wisdom with us today. This is just part one. We'll have you back. Who knows how many parts there will be. But thank you so much.
I was going to say before you do that, thank you so much for having me. And I always love getting to play in conversation with you. It's such a treat. And I look forward to the next time.
Thank you. It is such a treat. That's how I see it too. This is better than ice cream or a cookie to me, for me. So thank you. It fills my cup so much to be in relationship and conversation and exploring the big, huge existential questions. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with someone who would appreciate. Your support helps create positive ripples in our communities. Do you want to continue the conversation, have questions for the guests, or want to explore more? Visit substack.com and look for Yinspired. That's Yinspired. It's free to subscribe, and you'll receive every new episode, plus access to transcripts, show notes, resources, and the opportunity to join the discussion. From my heart to yours, create a day you love. This podcast is for entertainment, education, and inspirational purposes only. Nothing in this podcast is diagnostic or direct medical advice and does not establish a practitioner-patient relationship. Seek care from a highly trained medical provider for your healthcare concerns.